The sound is unmistakable, a sharp cracking thud that slices through the roar of the crowd. Then, a split second of silence as a legend crumples to the mat. That was the exact moment Ilia Topuria made his prophecy come true with a single perfect punch. But what went down just moments later, in the middle of all the chaos and celebration, was the spark that lit a brand new fire. The knockout crowned a new king, but it was the face-off that promised a new war. Before that punch echoed around the globe, a question hung in the air at the T-Mobile Arena. It was a classic tale of legacy versus destiny. In one corner, you had Charles du Bronx Oliveira, a man who's the living definition of resilience. A former champion, a legend holding UFC records for the most submissions and the most finishes. He was seen as the division's most durable and dangerous puzzle, a fighter who had walked through fire time and again, only to come out with his hand raised. He was the undeniable force. In the other corner stood the challenger, Ilia El Matador Topuria, undefeated, untouchable, and completely unwavering in his self-belief. At just 28 years old, he had already cleaned out the featherweight division, leaving a trail of elite fighters behind him. He gave up his throne for a shot at a new one, moving up to the Shark Tank of the lightweight division with a bold prediction. He would knock out Oliveira in the very first round. It was such an audacious claim that many wrote it off as youthful arrogance. How could anyone call a quick finish against a legend who had weathered storms from the sport's most powerful strikers? The stakes were massive. A vacant lightweight title was on the line, but this was about more than just a belt. For Oliveira, it was a chance to reclaim his throne and prove his time at the top was far from over. For Topuria, it was about cementing his own legacy, becoming a rare two-division champion, and proving he was exactly who he claimed to be, the next step in the evolution of MMA. As the fighters made their walks, another story was brewing in the background. A loud-mouthed Scouser named Paddy Pimblett was watching from the sidelines, a rival whose history with Topuria was dripping with personal animosity. Their paths had been on different tracks for years, but on this night they were destined to collide. The world just didn't know it would happen so fast. The first bell rang and the fight exploded with a frantic pace. Oliveira, the larger man, pushed forward trying to impose his will. Topuria, calm and collected, met him in the center. He fired off stiff, probing jabs, controlling the distance like a seasoned matador. Oliveira landed a few hooks himself and even managed to force a clinch against the fence, testing the challenger's strength. But Topuria was completely unfazed. He shut down Oliveira's takedown attempts, refusing to let the fight enter the Brazilian's world. Statistically, Topuria's performance was a masterclass. He landed his shots with terrifying accuracy, showing a level of precision that was just on another planet. But you can't capture the tension in that arena with numbers on a screen. With every exchange, you could feel the difference in power. Topuria's shots were heavier, his presence more commanding. He was walking down a man who almost never takes a backward step. Then it happened. At 2 minutes and 27 seconds of the first round, just like he said it would. As Oliveira stepped in, Topuria unleashed a devastatingly fast and perfectly timed combination. A savage right hand landed flush, snapping Oliveira's head back and shutting the lights off. Before the legend could even hit the canvas, a brutal left hook followed, a final, violent exclamation point on a statement that was already loud and clear. Charles Oliveira, the icon of durability, was out cold. The referee dove in, but it was over. Ilia Topuria stood with his hands in the air, the new, undisputed UFC lightweight champion. The arena erupted in a mix of shock and awe. No one had ever done that to Charles Oliveira. Topuria hadn't just won, he had delivered on an impossible promise in the most spectacular way imaginable. Usually after a historic knockout like that, the winner gets a moment to soak it all in. But Ilia Topuria had other ideas. As Joe Rogan stepped into the octagon for the post-fight interview, Topuria's eyes were already scanning the crowd, locking onto his target. Paddy the Baddy Pimblett was being let into the cage, and the vibe instantly shifted from celebration to confrontation. The two fighters met in the middle of the octagon, and the air was electric with hostility. This wasn't some manufactured hype for the cameras. It was the boiling point of a feud that had been simmering for years. It started with a hotel dust-up back in 2022 and was fueled by deeply personal comments Pimblett made about the Russo-Georgian War, something incredibly sensitive for Topuria and his family. They had been trading insults from a distance for years, fighting in different weight classes but always keeping the other's name in their mouths. Now, there was nothing separating them but a few feet of canvas and a handful of officials trying to play peacemaker. "I give you that respect," Pimblett said, acknowledging the incredible knockout. "But you will never knock me out." Topuria, overflowing with the confidence of a man who had just become a two-division champ, stepped right up to him. "I will knock you out," he fired back, his voice cutting through the noise. "I finish you, little man, from here I finish you." The intensity shot through the roof. Topuria shoved Pimblett, putting a physical exclamation point on his threat. Security swarmed in, pulling them apart as they kept jawing at each other. The crowd, still buzzing from the insane knockout, found a new reason to roar. They were getting a live preview of the lightweight division's next great grudge match. The knockout made Topuria a champion. This confrontation was turning him into a superstar. The shockwaves from UFC 317 hit instantly. Social media exploded, with fighters, analysts, and fans all trying to process the magnitude of what they just witnessed. Ilia Topuria's performance was called absolutely extraordinary, a masterclass of skill, power, and unshakable self-belief. He didn't just win, he completely dismantled a legend, extending his undefeated record to a perfect 17-0. At only 28, he joined the most exclusive club in the sport as a two-division UFC champion, a feat that puts his name among the all-time greats. The fight analysis painted a picture of a flawless performance. Topuria had controlled the pace, stuffed the takedowns, and executed his game plan to perfection. His significant strike accuracy was an astonishing 72.4%, a number that speaks to his technical mastery. This wasn't some lucky punch. It was a calculated, perfectly executed finish that kicked off a new era in the lightweight division. And while everyone was praising Topuria, a wave of respect also went out to Charles Oliveira, a nod to his incredible career and the heart he always shows, which only made Topuria's dominant win feel even bigger. The face-off with Paddy Pimblett added a whole new layer to Topuria's reign. It didn't feel like just a potential fight, it felt inevitable. The clash of their personalities, their styles, and the genuine bad blood between them is the perfect recipe for a blockbuster event. Topuria is the cold, calculated matador, a precision striker with scary power. Pimblett is the brash, charismatic baddie, a submission specialist with a polarizing personality. It's a promoter's dream, and after their heated exchange in the octagon, it's the fight everyone is screaming for. Two huge things happened in the octagon that night. First, a coronation. Ilia Topuria proved he's the next generation of fighter, a man with the power, precision, and mindset to rule the sport's most stacked division for years to come. He told the world exactly what he was going to do, and then he went out and did it. Second, an ignition. That fiery confrontation with Paddy Pimblett wasn't just post-fight drama, it was the official kickoff to the next chapter. The new king has his first challenger, and it's a rivalry that's as real and as personal as it gets. The knockout was the end of one story, but the face-off was the explosive beginning of another. The big question now is, what happens when these two finally collide? Can Paddy Pimblett's wild style and slick submissions overcome the surgical striking and raw power of Ilia Topuria? Or will El Matador call his shot once again and finish the baddie just like he promised? Let us know in the comments below who you think takes it when these two finally meet. And if you want more deep dives into the biggest moments in the fight world, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss an update.